Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Seminar Examiners, I want to introduce myself. My name is Nurdayani. I'm a student of English Education Department. In this video, I want to explain about my proposal that is, the title is Students' Effort in Overcoming Speaking Difficulties in Academic Speaking. Chapter 1, Introduction. Background of the study. Clarita and Hidayat 2020 define language is a tool of communication and humans practice it for obtaining and pass information, ideas, and messages among themselves. According to Shamsuar, the interaction that humans do to be able to exchange information is by means of communication. All of them are tools to communicate with other people. In speaking, the use of language can be used actively to express a meaning. Besides that, for students, spoken language is a medium used to discover the ideas, understand the meaning, practice the language, and learn new language. Students should be able to master 4 language skills in English. From all of them, speaking is one of productive skill which is important to be mastered by English students. Therefore, students need to have good speaking skills to be able to participate in the learning process. But there are still many students who have difficulty in using English in terms of speaking skill. Oxford in 1990 informed that most of the students were afraid to speak English. There are 3 factors that influence students in learning to speak English, which internal factor. Students who have low confidence actually experience fear when communicating, when speaking English in public. The first internal factor. Students who have low self-confidence actually experience fear when communicating, when speaking English in a public. Students feeling worried about making mistakes in speaking. They are afraid of being criticized by other students. They also feel embarrassed by the attention of other students directed at them, who are passive and reluctant to speak in class. Is the lack of motivation in students which make them not active in class lesson. The next is in external factor. Student environment might become another factor in oral communication obstacle. It occurs when the class becomes noisy. In other, the problem can be appeared because the teacher teaching strategy, the curriculum, and the environment. In addition to internal and external factors, there are linguistic elements that are a problem in learning English speaking. The basic skill in language learning is vocabulary. Many students not having a lot of vocabulary. Other factors that affect students' speaking ability are grammatical problems and low English pronunciation skills. Although speaking is a skill that students need to master, some English education students still struggle to demonstrate their speaking skills. In the academic speaking, students are required to speak at a higher level in an academic context. Furthermore, this study was conducted to find out about the efforts of students in overcoming difficulties in academic speaking. Research question. Based on the scope of the study, the researchers comes to the research question as follows. The first is, what are the difficulties faced by students in academic speaking? The second is, what are the the students' effort to overcome speaking difficulties in academic speaking. Purpose of the study: considering the question above, the aims that are expected to achieve from this research as follows. The first is to investigate what the difficulties faced by students in academic speaking. The second is to investigate what are the student efforts to overcome speaking difficulties in academic speaking. Chapter 2: Literature Review. The nature of speaking. According to Clarita and Hidayat 2020, English is the most commonly spoken language in various countries. In Indonesia, almost every school level is taught English. Even English is learned since kindergarten. According to Bungkit 2019, speaking is one of the skills needed for effective communication and hands-on practice in communicating any language, especially if the speaker does not use the first language. For students, spoken language is a medium used to discover the ideas, understand meaning, practice the language, and learn new language. In English class, students need speaking skill to encourage their learning activities in improving the process of their communicative competence. Academic speaking. Imania 2018, academic speaking is similar in many ways to academic writing. It is linear, explicit, it has one central point, and it is presented in standard language. Academic spoken style is also similar in many ways in that it is formal, explicit, and responsible. However, it is less complex and objective than written language. The importance of speaking. Saragi and Listiani 2021, speaking is important because language is one of the instruments that we can use to express our ideas, thoughts, and feeling correctly. The most important aspect of learning a second or foreign language is through mastering speaking. Reveal that speaking is an important component of a human and cannot be separated from each other. Therefore, students need to have good speaking skill to be able to participate in the learning process. The next is difficulties in speaking English. Based on previous research in Saragi and Listiani 2021, there are 8 difficulties in academic speaking that are: the first is difficulty due to anxiety. In this case, anxiety appears as feeling nervous, worried, and panic while working on English. The second, difficulty in using mother language excessively. Accustomed to using their first language, namely Indonesian in English speaking, they feel more comfortable using their mother tongue to communicate. The second, difficulty in giving spontaneous response. Academic speaking, students had difficulty in responding spontaneously, especially when the speaker spoke quickly, very quickly. The fourth is difficulty in learning a noun and string accent. The student find it difficult to understand people with foreign accent. The fifth, difficulty in expressing ideas. Learners have a low chance of advancing the ability to organize these ideas coherently. The sixth is difficulty finding the right lexicon. Academic speaking students have difficulty in vocabulary. The seventh is difficulty in sequence the correct grammar patterns. Some English students do not understand about the grammar rules when they speak English. And the last is difficulties facing a competitive environment. Students often feel that their friends are better. In addition, they are also afraid of their friends' response when they speak English. Students effort to overcome speaking difficulties in academic speaking. In previous research, Saragi and Listiani, 2021, there are 6 efforts that academic speaking students use to overcome their speaking difficulties in academic speaking. The first effort is to practice speaking English individually. To practice to overcome, it helps students to become better prepared before they finally demonstrate their English speaking skill. Communicating with friends is the second effort. When students are surrounded by supportive and cooperative friends, they will display better speaking skills. The third strategy is to try to gain self-control. They help themselves by giving positive suggestions and fight negative feelings to speak. The fourth effort is to find easier vocabulary. When the speaker fails to understand the vocabulary, the decide is to find a similar vocabulary that has the same meaning. The fifth effort is to use vocabulary from online dictionary, and the last switch to Indonesian or mother tongue to get used to finding new vocabulary and practicing it. Chapter 3, Research Methodology. Research Design. The researchers use a qualitative approach in conducting this research, and in this case, the researcher used qualitative case study as the research design. The participants of this research are students at one of the universities in Bogor who have finished taking academic speaking courses. The data collection. In the study, the researcher used questionnaire and interview in the data collection technique. In the study, the researcher combined open and closed a list of questions. The researcher also used a semi-structured interview through a standard open-ended interview to collect data from participants. Research instrument. The researcher used questionnaire to obtain data and information from participants through a WhatsApp application, and also use interview conducted through the video call WhatsApp application. During the interview, the researcher using Indonesian as the participant and the researcher first language. The reason the researcher uses Indonesian is to make it easier for participants to answer questions. Data analysis. After collecting the data through questionnaire and interview, the researcher analyzed the data and then gave categories based on the data. The next is analyze all answer of the participant one by one, and the last the researcher gave the conclusion from all of them and verification of the data. Well, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.